Good evening, citizens of Portsmouth, city staff, invited guests, and others who are joining us today. I want to welcome you to our public work session. Also, I want to welcome my colleagues on council, Mr. City Manager, Madam City Attorney, City Clerk, and Deputy City Clerk. Thank you all for being here tonight. I would ask that my colleagues at this time note their attendance electronically.
7 members of City Council are present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Carter, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. To the City Council, thank you for being here this evening. To all my colleagues, one of the first things I like to do, I know it may not be on the agenda right now, but I'd like to introduce to you our new Deputy City Manager, Dr. Gregory Coleman. He's in the audience here, and I'd like to introduce him as our Deputy City Manager. So, Mr. Coleman, if thank you for indulging me on that. But I think it's important that you guys know who your staff is. So, and that's one of the gentlemen that you have the opportunity to interface with. The only thing I have tonight, Mayor, Council, is a discussion on some of the things that came out of the CIPSA presentation that was done at the last meeting. There seemed to have been some confusion around our recycling program and exactly what it is. So I'd like to try and take this opportunity to talk about that just a little bit and tell you where it came from and where it is today. Because that, as I looked at all the different documents about this, that particular program has gone through a lot of changes from where it was originally started to where it is today. The program itself, based on the documents that I've been able to find, dates back to about the August 2013 time frame. And at that time, there was some grandiose ideas, I think, from RDS, the Recycling and Disposal Solutions Incorporated. They're the ones that the city went into the contract with to do this. And it appears that at that time, there were some ideas of how recycling was going to be profitable to them. So there were some things that they put in place that has since gone away because the recycling industry itself has become less profitable. But at first it started out that there was no charge for tipping fees for single stream recyclables. And that's the blue container that we're used to talking about. But they did charge $56, I think it was. Yes, no, $59.85 per ton for bulk waste, the black containers. They also had put on some other things that was really good for the city at the time. They made a guarantee that they would recycle at least 65% of the bulk waste that came in. They also made some guarantees about what they would do as a community partner. They were going to assist the city with community outreach. They was going to initially provide a budget of $500 a month for promotional items and rewards for residents, literature, refreshment at events, advertising, etc. And they were going to do some educational programs. Remember now, at this point, there is no cost for the single stream recyclables, but there was a cost for the black cans. Subsequently, as time progressed, we went into other contracts with Recycling and Disposal Solutions Incorporated. One of the most recent ones was on December 15, 2017. At that point, it became necessary to pay for the recycling. So when you even took the single stream, the blue can items to RDS, they charge $28 per ton for the blue can items. The black can items went from $59 a ton to $67 per ton. Then in January 2019, it changed it again, raised the price from $28 per ton for non-recyclables to, from $67 a ton for non-recyclables to, actually they dropped it for non-recyclables. They put in a fee structure. And the fee structure said that if they were able to make at least $66 a ton on those recyclables, they would charge us $56. Anywhere between $67 and $121 per ton that they would make, they would charge us $35 a ton. If they were able to make any above $122 per ton, they would only charge us $22 a ton. But they're dropping all the education assistance. They were dropping the ability to bring bulk refuge to their facilities also. The last one I was able to find was for January 2020. That raised the price to $58.40 per ton if they were able to make $66 or less. But if they were able to make between $67 and $121, they raised the price from $35 to $36. And anything that they make above $122, they raised from $22 to $23. So the recycling program started out as it doesn't cost anything for the city to participate in the recycling program, to the point where it is today, where we're paying, I think the last invoice that we have shows that we're paying $29.16 per ton for recyclables. So let me explain this too. Everybody has a blue bin, but everybody don't utilize a blue bin. So the idea that there was going to be benefit to the city because there were refuge that would be diverted from the landfill because we're going to recycle that, that's still a great idea, but we haven't been able to compel everybody to participate in that program. There's no penalty or anything for not participating. So you can take your recyclables and put them in the black bin, and SIPSA will treat that as bulk waste. They don't try to recycle it at this point or anything, they just take it to the landfill. Okay. So we went from a program where it didn't cost us anything to give RDS our recyclables because they were making money off of it, to the point where they stopped making money and now they're charging us for everything that we bring to them as far as recyclables. The black bin, it has always been what it is. Tipping fees have gone up and down on it. Currently, we're paying $67 per ton for tipping fees for what you put in the black bin, $72 a ton for things that are in the blue bin. So you see it's a little bit more expensive to do the recyclables than it actually is just to do the bulk waste. But that kind of gives you an idea of where we started, why it was beneficial at one point, or seemed to be a good revenue stream at one point for the city because we could get rid of some refuge that we didn't have to pay for at all, and it didn't add to our landfill. Now, we're still doing that same thing, but it cost us $72 per ton for us to get rid of that recyclable materials at this point. And having said that, one other thing I'd like to add is the cost to the residents started out at $33.36 when all this first got started. And that's around 2014. At 2018, it went down $3 to $30.16. Right? And in 2020, it went down one more dollar to $29.16. So currently it's $29.16. But we went from a point where it didn't cost the city anything to do recycling, but now it's costing $72 a ton to do recycling. So that kind of gives you some history on that. I know I kind of went through that pretty quickly, threw out a bunch of numbers at you, but if you got some questions that I can try and explain to you, I'll do my best to do that. I have some people here that's going to help me if I get stuck, but just wanted to kind of give you an update on what that recycling program is. It's not what it started out to be. It's a totally different program today than it was when we first initially got started with it. That's it.
Vice Mayor Lucasberg, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Manager Carter, for the presentation. We did get the in-depth presentation last meeting, and I know that we also, some of us attended a new location that is going to be doing a different type of recycling right here in the city of Portsmouth as well. But it was our understanding that this contract is coming to an end in July of this year.
Now, which contract are we talking about? Are we talking about SIPSA, or are we talking?
SIPSA, Willabretta, RDS. So not sure which one it is, but I know that something is ending July this year. And how do we, realign ourselves to make sure that we're still getting the services that we need for our citizens?
Go ahead.
Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. In the presentation last week, SIPSA explained that Willabretta will no longer be providing the waste to energy disposal, and so that will end. That's already ended, but officially, in terms of our payment for that early termination of that contract, when I say we, I mean the SIPSA board, which I sit on, that payment is expected by July 1st, so that's it. That won't affect us in the aspect of our transfer station, because SIPSA is going to continue to provide us an opportunity to have a transfer station at that location with some cleanup and the use of some of those funds. But that won't affect anything that applies to what Mr. Carter has explained.
Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. My question is, do we know what the participation rate is on the blue can pickups? And the reason why I say that, there's still value in that if it's being recycled, it's not using up capacity in the landfill. And at one time, there was incentive if the city reached a certain plateau, that we would reflect that back in the tipping fee. I don't know if you found that in some of the language in some of those agreements, but I know that existed because that was, when the program was kicked off, that was one of the wow factors that, if the city reaches this plateau in recyclables, we can pass on some of the savings to the citizenry. But I guess the question, the figures that you're giving us, what's the end game plan to increase participation on the blue can, or to do what some other localities have done and eliminate that? Is there any recommendation from staff?
Can I say something?
Yes, sir. Mr. Carter, you have the floor.
Councilman Moody, there was a lot you just put into that, okay? I'll try to unpack that and go through and make sure that I give you the responses that you're looking for. One is, yes, initially there was some incentives to the city. Matter of fact, one of the incentives actually was, I found in the original contract, there was some profit sharing, where if, based on what RDS was making, they were going to return some of those funds to the city. Right? We have, as I've told you based on the fees that we're charging our residents, we've actually reduced the fees over the years instead of raising the fees, although it's costing us as a city more to provide that service. We have still reduced the rates to the citizens. I think that's a valuable thing. It's valuable for our environment, not just as a money-making opportunity. It's just the right thing to do for our environment. So I would never tell you to abandon the process completely. But I do think there may be some things that we need to look at to try and compel our citizens to participate more.
Right.
Mr. Bagley presented a situation to you where we're looking at the lifespan for the landfill that they're using. Well, the more that we can divert from that landfill, the longer that lifespan becomes. So that's a valuable thing to us just in doing that. But there are things that we need to look at as a body, and the staff will make some recommendations of what we can do to compel or incentivize our citizens to participate and take a stake in what our environment is going to be in our future.
Yeah, and I agree with that route. We just need to find a way to increase the participation.
Yes, sir. And I don't have a definite number for you today that I can say 30%, 40%, 50%. I don't have that today. But one of the conversations I did have with staff today, we have to come up with a way to quantify some of the numbers that we're going to have to use. So that we're going to put some things in place so that we can figure out what that number is. And then based on what that baseline number is, figure out what we need to do to start raising that number.
Good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Councilman Hugel, sir, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So, City Manager, during the last work session, the SIPSA folks presented to us that they are in the process of investigating technology that would allow sorting. The very next day, several of us went to RDS and saw a pilot program that they have implemented that takes our black trash can trash and separates the recyclables from the non-recyclables. And what they advertised was about 65% of what we give them from our black trash cans gets recycled. That's good, but according to the information you've given us, it costs us $67 a ton to deal with black trash can waste, $5 more a ton, $72 a ton for blue trash can waste. Here's the question. When the black trash can waste gets dumped, is that when the tonnage is measured, or the black trash can waste gets dumped, it gets sorted 65% into recyclable, which now becomes $72 a ton waste, and the other 35% is $67 a ton waste. You following my? Yeah, so it seems that if we're being penalized in the pilot by $5 a ton to deal with what they're separating out of our black cans into recyclables, that maybe we ought to go back and ask, why are we being penalized? Why aren't we paying $67 a ton when the stuff gets dropped off? And your pilot program can do the goodness, which is separating the recyclable from the non-recyclable and cutting down, to your point, cutting down on the amount that actually goes to the landfill, which is the other concern that SIPSA communicated to us, and that is a real concern 30 years from now when we run out of landfill.
I suspect the difference is labor.
Anyway,
Yeah, before we
I would ask you to take a look to see if we're in fact paying $72 a ton for that black stuff that's now being separated and recycled, because it seems like that's penalizing us for their pilot.
So the way the process works today is we're actually participating with RDS to kind of help them perfect that process. But that's just on a trial basis. SIPSA charges us $67 for the black can. That's where it goes. If it came out of the black can and goes in the truck, we take it to SIPSA. If it comes out of the blue can, it goes to RDS. And they weigh the truck before it shows up. So it's, not before it shows up, but as it shows up. So it's not, they don't dump it and then separate it and then weigh it. When the truck shows up, it shows up as either containing things in the blue can, and it's at RDS, or it shows up at SIPSA as things came out of the black can. When it shows up, it gets weighed, all right? They know the difference between the weight of the truck when it goes in and the weight of the truck when it leaves, and they charge you the tonnage difference. Okay. So that program that you're talking about is just a pilot now, and it's not being factored into what's happening this way.
Thank you.
Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Carter, my question last week dealt with accountability, and that is, who is there monitoring, determining when it's decided that so much tonnage is going to be charged the $72 rate and this tonnage is $67? Who's making that determination, and how is that being accounted for by the city? And then the second thing becomes, when we go to the one trash can, which is what I thought I heard the SIPSA representative say, we're moving towards just one trash
That's what
can.
they want.
So again, who's going to be determining what is recyclable, what goes left, what goes right, and the charge that's being applied? Is there some type of monitoring of that by the city to make sure we're being charged correctly?
Yes, sir. Have your reply?
You have the floor, Mr. Carter.
The way it's determined what goes where is it starts out at the home. When that truck picks up a blight can, that has determined that it's going to SIPSA. All right. When it picks up a blue can, that is determination at that point is going to RDS. So the truck, the citizen itself is the one who's determined which route that's going to go. What happens is, when the trucks are weighed, we get the receipts from that, so we can verify that it was X amount of tonnage and we paid X amount of dollars based on that tonnage. And we're talking two different places here. The black can goes to SIPSA, the blue can goes to RDS. But it's the same weighing process that turns out, that tells us how much was taken and how much we're being charged for. So who determines where it goes? It's the citizen itself. When you throw something in that black can,
Right.
it is on its way to SIPSA. When you throw something in that blue can, it's on its way to RDS.
Right, so is the assumption, again, that the citizen is throwing what the citizen is supposed to throw into the black can?
No, sir.
Because
Whatever goes into the black can will
Right.
go to SIPSA.
Right.
There's no separation at this point.
Right, so what if there's recyclables in the black can?
It's still going to
Right,
SIPSA.
so how is that separated out, or is it charged at?
It's charged at $67. It's just municipal solid waste at that point. There's no sorting mechanism once it gets there. Now, what they're anticipating or what they want to happen in the future state is there is no blue can. Everything goes into one can. Black, blue, doesn't matter. Everything goes into one can. And there is, like the visit that some of the council had, when it goes in, there is an actual sorting process that will take some things and send it one way and some things and send it the other way. And then we will get reports as to how much went one way and how much went the other way. All right, but that's not where we are today. Where we are today is if it went in that black can, it's going to the city landfill.
Any other questions for Mr. Carter? Seeing none, that will conclude that particular presentation.
Thank you.
We are now moving to the item on the agenda, City Council liaison reports. Do we have any liaison reports at this time? Councilman Hugel, sir, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this report is on behalf of the Military Affairs Committee. This past Saturday, the Naval Support Activity hosted the Uncorked Wine Festival over at Navy Medical Center Portsmouth. It was a very well-attended event, and so I want to thank Captain Matt Fraunzimmer and his site manager, Jared Bobzian, for organizing and ultimately inviting the community on board the Navy Hospital to help celebrate the Seawall Festival and the firework display with wine tasting there as a joint Navy and community event. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I know this is not a liaison report, but I would like to report out. Today, we had the opportunity and pleasure of welcoming 16 new police officers to the Portsmouth family. And so we were really excited about that. They were sworn in this morning at 10 a.m. 16 new, well-trained, capable new police officers here to support our force and make our city safer and take care of our community. So wanted to let everybody know that it was a great ceremony and we were grateful to have them join the team. We also will be having a graduation, is my understanding, in December with about 12 new police officers. So we continue to bring on new police officers, men and women who choose to be here to serve the city of Portsmouth, and we're grateful for that. Just wanted to let everyone know. Any other liaison reports? Seeing none, that concludes this public work session. We will meet again at 7 p.m. with our regularly scheduled council meeting. Thank you all for coming.